Are you feeling the burn and not in a good way? Well, stay tuned because I got 3 more tips for burnout recovery. Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Joelle, the Everyday Avant-Garde, where I talk about all things art, business, and creative lifestyle. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. So let's get started. Alrighty, so this is the third and final video of my 3-part series on burnout recovery. In the first video, I talked about my recent experience with burnout, which led me to not making YouTube videos for the last 6 months, but now I'm back, and that's why I want to share all this with you. And then in the second video, I talked about my first 3 tips for burnout recovery, and I personally felt that these ones made the greatest impact to start with first. And just as a summary, if you want to watch the video, if you didn't see the video, I'll link it down below and in here, hopefully. And so I'll put part 1 and 2 in there. But yeah, anyways, if you didn't watch part 2, my first 3 tips for burnout recovery was to tidy your home, set boundaries, and nourish your body. And again, these ones were the most impactful for me to start with, but if it doesn't feel right for you and you want to start with these next 3, that is totally fine. Do you, be patient with yourself, take your time with this. And I mentioned this in the previous videos as well, but if you feel overwhelmed with these tips or some of these things just sort of like feel triggering or stressful to you, I would suggest just like setting a timer and doing it for a couple minutes at a time, whether it's 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. And if you can do it in little increments at a time, it's going to help to make it become a habit. And then you're not going to have to use mental energy to think about it. It's something you're just going to automatically, intuitively do. Yeah. So with all that being said, let's jump into my last 3 tips for burnout recovery. Number 4 tip for burnout recovery is treat yourself. So I feel like this tip is sort of the one that falls under, I think all of these tips are self-care, but this tip is the one that most people I think would traditionally associate with self-care. But beyond treating yourself, like I believe when I say treat yourself, I mean treat your body, treat your mind, and treat your soul. Honestly though, to start, like I just want to mention for me, I know this sounds so basic and probably a lot of y'all are already doing this, but I know some people with burnout aren't. I found that for me, just taking a shower every day it helped boost my mood. And I know that there's some people where like you just don't have the energy or motivation to not take a shower for that day. And I get it, I've been there. But I think if you can just get yourself to do that, like simple step, I notice I always feel better after I take a shower. Like I don't feel like magically like happier, but it does boost my mood a little bit. And then if you're already doing that regularly, then I would suggest like you could take it a step further. You know, you could have a nice bubble bath, or if you don't have a bath, you can still make it nice. Like you can like light some candles, put on some music you like, or like use like if you have like a beauty product or a bath product you only use for like special occasions, like a scrub or oil or whatever, you know, like you treat yourself to that, indulge yourself with that, like give yourself some extra love. Some of the other things I like to do is like I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's like gua sha stone or like those face rollers, like facial massage. Like I like to paint my nails or like do my eyebrows. And then another thing that I like is, so for me, because I'm a server, my feet were constantly hurting. So I was asking my husband to rub my feet every day, and you know, he's not always around to do that for me. So I bought a foot massage machine, and that has helped a lot. I also have a back massager I use, and that's cheaper than if you're gonna if you can afford to make a massage appointment or you want to treat yourself to that, that's totally fine too. But if you're trying to do it on a budget, that's a good way that you can do it affordably and then just do it from the comfort of your own home. But basically anything it doesn't have to be any of those things I mentioned either. Just whatever you like doing that's like showing your body some love and appreciation and just like making you feel good. Like that's what we're going for when I say treat yourself. You could also just like literally get yourself a treat. If there's like a certain kind of like Starbucks drink you like, or like boba tea, or a dessert, or like your favorite dish to go from a restaurant or whatever. I know I mentioned nourishing your body and like trying to cut back from junk food and alcohol and stuff like that. But it's not to say that you shouldn't like deprive yourself. Like you can indulge once in a while, and again, treat yourself. Just the main thing to keep in mind is you want to be having like balance. You don't, if you have like a cupcake you like, just don't eat it every single day, or don't eat it like 3 times a day or whatever, you know. just balance it. But there's nothing wrong with treating yourself once in a while, and you definitely don't need to feel guilty about it. In fact, it's actually going to make you feel good, and it's going to help you recover from your burnout. And then it also, like, you know, if there's like a certain article of clothing you want, or like some jewelry that you think, like, I don't know, you feel like in your mind you just been trying to justify, like, oh, I don't really need it, or I don't know, like, you shouldn't get things you don't need. But if it's something that you really love and you know you're going to use it and it's going to bring you joy, and you can afford it, go for it. Treat yourself. So there's some other ways you can treat yourself besides, you know, in like the material ways and the body ways. You can treat your soul, and that's also very helpful in burnout recovery. Doing things like meditation or journaling are great, or reading a book. One of the things that I like to do with my journal, I have a few different kinds of journals depending on what I'm writing, but I have a specific journal that's like my manifestation gratitude journal, and I only allow myself to write positive things in there. And I've noticed that if there's days when I'm feeling like poop, if I just sit down for a couple minutes and just like write a page of stuff, like just things that I'm really thankful for in life. It can be big or small. Like it can be like, oh, I'm thankful to have, you know, the air that I'm breathing right now. Or I'm thankful to have food in my fridge, or whatever it is that you can think of, just write it down and like show appreciation for that. And after I do that activity, I notice I always feel a little bit better. So there's some ways you can, there's also like guided meditations on YouTube as well. If you're one of those people that doesn't like meditating or just doesn't really know how to get started. But you can also do like meditative type things while you're in the shower, while you're having your spa shower. Just, be really like mindful of it and try to just like calm your mind and be present and enjoy the moment. That's sort of another way you can sort of nourish your soul. And then lastly, with treating yourself, treat your brain. But I would suggest for this one is like treat your brain to things that you like, things that are going to help with your like growth as a person, or your progress. I don't know. One of the things that has been hugely helpful for me is I've taken a lot of, the past few years, I've taken a lot of like online courses and e-courses on different topics, from like learning how to use Instagram, or like I took a manifestation course that was absolutely amazing. Recently, one of the things that actually sort of helped me with my burnout recovery was I was taking a watercolor class on like art and wellness. And it's nice to be able to have this like artistic activity that I'm doing. One, I've never tried watercolor before, so it was like a nice way to explore a new technique, but I wasn't doing it for my business. I was doing it just for the joy of it. And so it took a lot of the pressure off. And so even when I say taking a class, like I know maybe some of you that are like in university or whatever feel like that's a stressful thing, but it's like not if you're picking something that you actually just like are really into or have been curious to try. It doesn't have to be a class on like calculus, unless that's something that really excites you, but like it could be a class on ceramics or a yoga class or something like that. And the other thing that's nice about that too, when I mentioned like with the setting boundaries and keeping your social circle with positive people, is that's a good way to meet like sort of more like-minded people. And my experience with doing some of these activities is I've met some incredible people that are high vibe sort of, personalities that when I'm around them, when I talk to them, I feel positive, I feel happy, I feel good, I feel like better about myself, I feel better about humanity. Yeah, so that's a good way to treat your mind. Again, I mentioned books as well. If there's some topic you just want to learn about. I mean, it doesn't even have to be learning something. Sometimes, like, I think it's still good to read, even if it's not intellectual stuff. You're still learning because you're probably getting some new vocabulary or something in there. I don't know. And then the other thing is like, if you feel like you're really crunched for time and you just don't have time, or you don't have money to like commit to doing like a weekly course, or, if it costs money, you don't have money, whatever. There's so many different awesome tutorials on, and how-tos on like YouTube and TikTok. So you could just find like a 5-minute video, how to draw a teddy bear or something like that, and then you're going to be learning some kind of new skill and doing something you like. I mean, pick something you like. Or if there's something you've always been wanting to try it and you always thought like, oh, like, I'll do it one day or whatever. There's no need to wait. You could just, dip your toe in, spend a couple minutes and explore it. That's how you're going to treat your soul. So yeah, that's the number 4 tip, is treat yourself. The number 5 tip for burnout recovery is limit your screen time. So I sort of touched on this with my tip of setting the boundaries, where I mentioned to unfollow from people that don't make you feel good on social media. But also, even after you've done that, I would highly recommend, and it's very beneficial, to be aware of and limit how much time you're spending both on your phone and on the television watching TV. To start, if you're like, if you don't really have like an idea of how much time you're spending on your phone, there's free apps that you can use that track how much time you're spending on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And once you see those numbers, it can be quite shocking. Like there's been times where I thought I was like maybe 4 to 6 hours like on social media. Like that's a lot. That's like a quarter of my day that's on my phone. And I know I wasn't doing just business activities on there. I was partially just like scrolling. So you can waste a lot of time doing that. And also that content, just seeing that content all the time, even if it's positive content, like that can be kind of taxing and overwhelming on your brain, which is why I say you should limit your screen time. I mean, even the people who have designed these apps say that they don't let their kids use phones or go on social media, and it's for a reason. They design this stuff to be addicting, and it literally, like, for me, one of the things I noticed is that like when I would get home or whatever and go to lay down in bed, I would like scroll on TikTok. I love me some TikTok. I could literally spend hours watching TikTok videos. And while it does educate me a lot, it's not good to sit there for like a very long time doing that. And so what I decided to do instead is like, I still watch TikTok, but if I'm gonna go to bed, I don't look at my phone. I switch instead to reading a book. I noticed with TikTok, even if I was like physically tired, because it says something to your dopamine when you're on your phone, and it has these sort of like addictive properties, right? So even though I was tired, I would just want to keep watching, and then I would end up staying up until like 4 or 5 in the morning and then not get very much sleep, which again, amplifies a lot of the symptoms of feeling burnout. So I noticed when I have a book, I still stay up kind of late, but I feel like I get tired way faster. And then once I'm like done with the book, I'm gonna actually like close my eyes to fall asleep. I fall asleep way faster than I did when I was on my phone. When I was on my phone, it would probably take me like about 30 minutes after I closed my eyes to fall asleep. And after reading a book, I'm asleep after like 3 minutes when I close my eyes. Some people say like don't have your phone an hour before bed. I personally don't have that much discipline, but my rule is I just don't look at my phone when I'm in my bed. I'll look at it an hour before, but I don't and also I think the blue light affects your circadian rhythm, which is another reason why they recommend not doing that, because it messes with your sleep cycle and how tired you feel, which totally makes sense because I was feeling that. And some other things you could do is like they have apps where like you tell them like, okay, I only want to spend like 30 minutes on Instagram a day or however much time you set. And then like once you've spent that time, it kind of like boots you from the app and you can't open it until the next day. So that's one option if you don't have very good self-control. Or you could also just set an alarm, right? Or set a timer and be like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna indulge in my TikTok videos, but I'm only gonna do it for 30 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. And once that time is done, the phone's gone. Like I'm not gonna check it anymore. I'm gonna go on to my next like activity. And then the same sort of thing goes for like TV or Netflix, whatever. I feel like now more than ever, because of most of us are like using streaming platforms, it is so easy to spend hours and hours and hours watching television or like watching the same show. Like back in the day when I was a kid, if you wanted to like binge watch something, you'd have to like wait till their like yearly marathon was on. But now you can just like watch it all like nonstop for however many hours. And when I was first having burnout, I was doing a lot of this because like I said, I didn't have motivation. So I would just like sit on the couch after work and just like watch TV. And I would be like on TikTok while I'm watching the TV. I know a lot of people do that. Like you have like your phone going on with the TV as like the background noise or whatever. So I had like both screens going at once, like until I felt like I was just gonna pass out. And then in bed, I would still continue with the TikTok. It was so bad. Yeah, so like, the thing about like burnout is I think it's like because you're doing too much of one thing. And most of the time people think it's like just because of work. But you can also get burnout from social media, or you can get burnout from binge watching a show. It's just not really healthy to be like doing something for hours and hours and hours at a time, especially if it's like every single day. Yeah, so again, like if you want to, I'm not saying you shouldn't watch TV or shouldn't watch movies, because I still do those things. I love TV and movies, but now I just limit my time to it. And I have so much time and energy to do the other things in my life too, which is great. And then I feel like I enjoy the show a lot more. And I also want to pay more attention to it because like, when you binge watch something, I feel like it sort of loses its like specialness. and it's easier to like be on your phone. But if I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna watch the one episode, then I really want to like pay attention to what's going on in the episode, and it just makes me like more mindful and enjoy the activity more. So yeah, number 5 is limit your screen time. Whatever it is for you, whatever your screen addiction is, just figure out ways you can cut it back. Again, you can still allow yourself to do it, you know, just limit your time. If you want to go like all in, you could just literally delete it or just not partake in it at all too for a period of time or however long you want. Those are all great ways to do it, but just whatever you do, whatever steps you take, just limit it. Okay, I don't know if you noticed, but the sun is going down. My lighting has like been changing throughout the progress of these videos. Sun's going down, and we are on the last tip for burnout recovery. My 6th and final tip for burnout recovery is do what you love. I know this one like might seem super obvious, and it might seem like what would go as like the first one, but I put it last for a reason because I feel like when you've done all the other 5 steps, which to sum it up again is tidy your home, set boundaries, nourish your body, treat yourself, limit your screen time. When you've done all those other things, you're able to enjoy like whenever you're doing something you love, you're able to enjoy it so much more and just be more present in that activity and truly maximize your enjoyment of it, because now your brain isn't going to be in a million other places stressing about all these other areas because you've already sort of addressed them. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing is too, is I feel like you'll feel like less guilty, because I think sometimes if we have burnout and we want to do something we love, I know this happened with me, like, you know, I love watching TV, and when I was having the burnout, I mentioned I would just literally come home and watch TV. And even though it's something I love doing, I was like feeling guilty and I wasn't feeling good when I was doing it, because I would be like stressing in the back of my head about my dishes that need to get done, or like feeling like, oh, I shouldn't have ate that like greasy food like for the 10th time this week, or like, oh, like I really need to like clip my fingernails because they're dirty, like because I wasn't addressing all these other areas of my self-care and neglecting all these other areas of my life. It just wasn't as fun to watch TV, which sucks, honestly. So like do what you love, and that looks totally different for every single person. I know everyone has their own like sort of different interests. Some examples of the things that I love to do is like petting my dog, spending time with my husband, working on art projects. And I do love my screen time. I do love to go on social media. I do love playing Animal Crossing on my Nintendo, and I do love watching Netflix. And I know I had just mentioned to limit your screen time, but what I'm trying to say here is like, in doing this activity, I know that my screen time is like limited. Like that's, you know, I've made an intentional sort of space for that screen time in my life. And so I can do it without feeling like guilty or that I'm wasting time. It's like, okay, like, no, this is my time to watch my show. And you know what? Once in a while, still, honestly, like I would like binge watch a show for the day. But there's a difference between binge watching a show like once every couple months versus binge watching TV every single day. There's a huge difference in that. And so like now when I'm doing it, I kind of make it more like, oh, this is like my relaxing day. And I make it, again, more intentional. And I don't beat myself up about it, because I know like at the end of the day, like after that, you know, period of me doing that activity that I love is over, I am still going to continue to like work on the things that are going to take care of myself in other ways of my life. And it's not like a habit. It's more intentional, like a specific activity. Does that make sense? If you have any questions about this, again, comment down below. So yes, limit your screen time. But if you do love TV and whatever, like I do, you can totally still do it. Like I'm not saying don't ever watch your shows again. And I understand that some of these tips you might feel like resistance towards, or it might feel like work, or you might feel like it's causing you extra stress. And I totally get it. I've been there too. Like there's been days where I couldn't be bothered to clean anything. You know, it just felt like too much. Even something I knew would only take me 5 minutes, like mentally, emotionally, just felt like too much. So I get it. Yeah, there was like the past 6 months, I was living in burnout land. But for me, it just got to a point where I was tired of feeling tired all the time. And I was tired of feeling I wasn't progressing in my life aside from my paycheck at my job. That was like the only thing that was, moving forward in my life. I got tired of feeling like time was just passing me by, and I felt like I wasn't really living life, I felt kind of like in a sort of zombie state, but just more stressed out than a normal zombie would be. And there still are days where I don't feel like cooking or cleaning, or I don't clean for the day, or days where like I have some kind of anxiety about like holding a boundary, and that's okay. Again, we're not trying to do like a magical overnight transformation. This is a process. If I don't clean for the day, I just say, you know what, Joelle, it's okay. Like that's what you needed for that day to take care of yourself in other areas of your life. And tomorrow is a new day, and you can address that tomorrow when you're having like a more full cup, right? And I found, surprisingly, like at the beginning of the year, I sort of made this pivot, and I was like, I am putting my self-care before everything else, before my business, before my job. I mean, I'm still showing up for my job, but I'm not trying to like overexert myself. And I noticed that once I started prioritizing my self-care and all these tips that I mentioned, once I started doing those things, I actually ended up being way more productive. And it wasn't coming from a place of feeling like it was work, or like I had to force myself to do it. It's just being more productive ended up coming way easier. And so it's been really great to like finally be on the other side of this burnout. That's why I wanted to share this, because I know a lot of people are struggling right now. And again, you don't have to do everything at once. Set a timer, do it for a couple minutes if you can. And you don't have to do every tip every day either. Just do what you're feeling inclined to do or whatever. Like when I'm saying it's like, it feels like work and you don't want to add extra work because you're stressed. But unfortunately, you do have to do some work on yourself to get better, because nobody in your life is going to make you, like the harsh truth is there's nobody else on this earth who is going to make you in a generally happier person. There's nobody in this world who can just magically take away all of your stress. Even if somebody gave you money, right? Like even if you win the lottery, there's still going to be factors that can contribute to your stress that are, should be addressed. And it does take some effort and being conscientious and aware of that. And also be aware when you're doing these steps, be aware of if you are feeling better, or how you're feeling afterwards, how you're feeling when you're doing them, and see maybe certain things are going to help you more than others, or doing them more is going to make a bigger impact for you more than other tips. But yeah, it's okay to take just as long as you need. Go easy on yourself. Like don't stress about this. Enjoy the process. And if you feel like this is work, or if any of these tips I mentioned are giving you stress, I would invite you to shift your perspective. And instead of feeling of it like it's work, think of it as a beautiful gift that you are giving your future self, right? Like, that feeling like when you come home from vacation and like your house is clean, it's like the best feeling in the world. That's kind of like, that's the sort of feeling you're going to be giving yourself constantly when you're doing these tips. Sometimes when you're not having the motivation and stuff, it's hard to understand how much happier it's going to make you, because oftentimes we want things that are like instantly gratifying. And, that's why I was like eating more junk food and drinking more alcohol, because I wanted something that was just going to instantly make me feel better, but it wasn't helping in the long term. So some of these like things you're doing, it might feel like you might feel some like challenges or resistance come up, but it's okay. Like it's all for the best. And it's all for taking care of yourself, because you are so precious and so important, and you deserve to have a life that you're happy in, and a life that you feel fulfilled and like complete with, and you feel joy from it. Whew. All right, breathe. I know that was an intense series. I felt it. Yeah, so those are my 6 tips for burnout recovery, and I hope you found some value in them. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or tips that you've utilized for burnout recovery, I'd love to hear it in the comments down below. And then I am also going to be putting like a sort of condensed version of all of this, all of these tips on my Instagram and my TikTok. You can find me on there, also the same name, Everyday Avant-Garde, in case you ever need a refresher or reminder. Or you want to share it with somebody who's going through burnout. Thank you so much for watching. I am it has been a really intense and stressful couple 6 months for me with my job and the panini and all of that. And I'm so grateful that I used all these tips, and I am finally like feeling better and happy and more energetic. And I am so looking forward to continuing putting out regular content for y'all and sharing the things that I'm doing, what I'm going through. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fabulous day. Bye.